Meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abraham?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Uhrig?
Yes.
Kish are present. I have the Amherst Township meeting minutes from October 24th, 2023. The regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees was called to order at 7:01 p.m. by Lynch with a pledge to the flag. Roll call, Abraham, Lynch, Uhrig, and Kish were present. Also in attendance was Case Marsh, G. Lynch, R. Resendez, L. Resendez, C. Nyhart, D. Kohler, M. Orozco, Morgan, Orozco, G. Duncan, A. Duncan, B. Duncan, and A. Abraham. 10-4-23, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Uhrig. Move to approve the October 10th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as corrected. All ayes. 10-5-23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing, which includes ARPA fund expenditures as specified in documents provided by the fiscal officer. All ayes. 10-6-23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve that the August and September 2023 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. 10-7-23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Uhrig. Move to accept the accounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor, revised code section 5705.34-.35. The addendum. Trustee Lynch welcomed everyone and called for any audience concerns. R. Resendez introduced himself as a candidate for Lorain County Sheriff for the March 2024 primary election. Trustee Lynch reminded everyone that we will have a hard stop at 7:30 p.m. for a public hearing. Correspondence. Trustee Lynch noted that NOPEC annual meeting will be held on November 14th, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. at the Hilton Grand Inn, Garden Inn, Twinsburg, Ohio. Registration begins at 9:30 a.m. and there will be a lunch provided after the meeting with an educational seminar directly following the lunch. Under reports, ambulance service. Trustee Abraham reported a special ambulance board meeting has been scheduled for Thursday, November 16th at 4 p.m. at the Amherst Fire Station. Under fire inspector, Chris Nyhart reported that there is no open burning in the township between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Roads, Parks, and Cemetery, Road Superintendent Smarsh reported regular maintenance and that dumpster days was well attended. Cobblestone was poured on Monday afternoon and is finished. OPWC Round 38 can now be entered and has already been. Trustee Lynch reported out on the $67,000 funds from the county for a portion of our match for the Oberlin Road resurfacing project should be on the Commissioner's Board business next week. Trustee Lynch also noted that stormwater mini-grant funds are still available and Kevin may want to revisit applying. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individual. Unfinished business. Trustee Uhrig noted that the Solid Waste Management District Policy Committee met to continue work on the plan update. Currently, communities representing 60% of the district's population have approved the plan, and that is enough to move it forward. There is time for other communities to also approve it. Once it has the final approval, it will move on to the EPA. At 7:30 p.m., Trustee Lynch recessed the regular meeting and called the public hearing to order. Trustee Lynch concluded the public hearing and moved back to the regular meeting at 8:38 p.m. 10-8-23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, moved to accept the map amendment consideration for property owners 113 Properties LLC / Arthur J. and Nicholas M. Abraham and applicant David M. Kohler of Cambridge Services to rezone approximately 44.79 acres consisting of permanent parcels 05-00-052-000-062 and 05-00-069-000-001, fronting the east side of Oberlin Road between 8795 and 8823, from the present classification of residential agricultural to the proposed classification of low density residential. Roll call, Lynch and Abraham were ayes, Uhrig was a no. Trustee Lynch inquired if Trustee Uhrig has had any further discussions with anyone for interest in the open architect position. Trustee Uhrig noted there were none. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 7 p.m. here at the Amherst Township Hall. 10-9-23, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham to adjourn at 8:51 p.m. All ayes.
Okay, if there's no changes or corrections to
I
the...
have one question regarding that zoning amendment, and that question is, what was the title on that? Was it low-density residential, or was it low-density residential with conservation overlay?
It includes a conservation overlay.
Was that part of the title?
Well, I can look it up now, David, if you would have asked me before the meeting.
Oh, I just
would have
noticed
come
it,
prepared.
Neil.
I copied it right off of the resolution.
Well, that's what what's on the top. Just noticed that.
Well, Chris, I think you've had those meeting minutes out for 3 weeks now to review them.
No, I just caught it. I caught some of the things earlier. I just caught that, and I'm thinking to myself,
Right. Well, let me go through this, because we've got to do, since David's questioning it, I want to go through exactly the process and what our options are through the Ohio Revised Code. So the top of this says map amendment consideration for property owners 113 Properties LLC, Arthur J. and Nicholas M. Abraham, and the applicant, David M. Kohler of Cambridge Services, to rezone approximately 44.79 acres consisting of permanent parcel numbers 05-00-052-000-062 and 0500-069-000-001, running the east side of Oberlin Road between 8795 and 8823, from the present classification of residential agricultural to the proposed classification of low-density residential. That is the request that is on the application. That's exactly as it is written. What happened was, as the process went through and we reviewed the recommendations from the Lorraine County Planning Commission and the recommendations from the Zoning Commission, the property owner agreed to change this to including the conservation development overlay. So then when you look at what does the resolution actually say? In the interest of the health and safety, the Zoning Commission recommendation to approve the map amendment requested by the property owner shall be adopted. That's what it says. There's a second one, and this is just the way the prosecutor says to do this. Also, in the interest of the public convenience, comfort, prosperity, and general welfare, the Zoning Commission recommends to approve the map amendment requested by the property owner shall be adopted. And I'm not going to go into the legal reasons the prosecutor says to do with those two different methods. Now, when you look at what we did was we adopted the Zoning Commission's recommendation. When you look specifically at the Zoning Commission's recommendation, which you had a copy of, David, at that meeting. Get that. That you're asking now, instead of within the 3 weeks you've had to review these minutes. Is there something you have planned on this, that this is an interest?
no.
Okay.
Just that I think that the intent was with the conservation
It
overlay.
is. It is.
And that's what it's being approved as, and not to be confused with going to a flat R1 district.
It's not.
And I apologize, I don't have my copy of the...
I'm going to spend a lot of time on this now. Yeah, I don't have the complete package here, David. Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared for this. That's why Chris gives you 3 weeks to go over this. It does include the conservation development. I can assure you that is the zoning commission's motion. I don't have a copy here, okay? If you contact Lonnie Dillon, he'll be able to get you a copy.
No, I'm just wondering if you had a copy of the title. That's what I
Yeah.
wondered.
Okay. Yeah, that wasn't put in the title. The title was copied exactly what was on the application. But it definitely is with conservation development. And Sam, you'll end up marking up the map, you know, for the zoning map and showing us conservation development until we go through another map update after there's multiple changes. Okay. All right, there any other questions?
Actually, Georgianne already did it.
Oh, okay. Good, it's already done. Great. All right, can I have a motion to approve the October 24th meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Abraham?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Now I have the Amherst Township Public Hearing meeting minutes from October 24th, 2023. Elected officials present, trustees Abraham, Lynch, and Urick, and fiscal officer Kish. Also in attendance, L. Resendez, R. Resendez, F. Duncan, A. Duncan, B. Duncan, A. Abraham, D. Kohler, K. Smarsh, G. Lynch, and M. Orozco. Sorry, Morgan. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.07, the Board of Trustees of Amherst Township are holding this public meeting to consider a proposed amendment to the Amherst Township zoning resolution map that was initiated by the property owners 113 Properties LLC / Arthur J. and Nicholas M. Abraham and applicant David M. Kohler of Cambridge Services. The amendment pertains to the following: to rezone approximately 44.79 acres consisting of permanent parcels 05-00-052-000-062 and 05-00-069-000-001, fronting the east side of Oberlin Road between 8795 and 8823, from the present classification of residential agricultural to the proposed classification of low-density residential. The public hearing began at 7:30 p.m. Trustee Lynch gave a summary of action to date regarding this. D. Kohler gave a short presentation regarding the plans and answered questions from several residents and the trustees. The following individuals made comments in person: F. Duncan, A. Duncan, B. Duncan, A. Abraham, and D. Kohler. The trustees then gave their comments and or questions and closed the public hearing and returned to the regular meeting at 8:38 p.m.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the October 24th, 2023 public hearing meeting minutes as read?
So move.
Second.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. And David, I did find it now, is the motion number by the zoning commission, which the trustees approved, was motion number, let's see if he's got the number here. Motion was approved 5-0 by the zoning commission. They voted 5-0, rezone, and list the same parcel numbers. 44.8 acres of vacant land from RAG to R1 with conservation overlay. The parcel will be developed with 65 single-family homes, lots with lots with 25.5 acres of open space, and included all, which includes all the wooded area. And that's what will be on file with Lorraine County Planning Commission. Okay?
Okay.
And I think and that is, you've got a copy of this, David, which was what was
Yeah,
read word
yeah,
for
yeah,
word. It explains it right in there, what the decision was that was being made. So if you look at
Got
your
that, I got that.
information you received on October 24th, you'll have all that information. Okay, Chris?
Good? Okay, then
We're
you've got the
good.
payment listing in front of you. This was an expensive 3 weeks, being that OPWC came due and Oberlin Road, was Sandstone Oberlin Road? Or Sandstone's?
Sandstone.
Hidden
was
Valley.
Yeah, that's Hidden Valley.
And then the fire department's third quarter billing all happened to hit at the same time, so that was a big chunk of change. But everything else is pretty much boilerplate. And our revenue to date is $1,555,268.73. And our expenditures are $1,116,207.56.
What was that revenue again? 1,500,000?
Revenue
Yes.
is $1,555,268.73. Got expenditures?
Yes. Now you've had the fire contract and you've had you had 2 road projects
Yes.
on this one, so those are the big ones for the year.
Hopefully.
We shouldn't have any large ones coming up for the rest of the year.
Because fourth quarter fire will be in first quarter of 2024. And actually, third quarter was pretty low compared to past bills.
Well, that's why there's always that minimum though also, so even if we're fortunate enough not to have, since we pay per service, even if there's not if we're fortunate enough to have fewer calls, there's still a minimum payment too. All right, if there's no other questions on the financials, I'm going to make a motion to approve the financial report and the payment of the items on the payment listing. I didn't see any ARPA items listed
There is one in there.
Okay, so including the ARPA fund expenditures as specified in the documents provided by the fiscal officer.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
That is all I have for financials.
All right, we don't have any audience members in attendance, so I'm going to go right to correspondence. Chris?
I do have 2 items, and I put them in your, I put them in your packet. The one was just so that you are aware that I did enroll
you.
us in the OTA Township education subscription, so that will go into effect on January 1. And then you did receive, I made you a copy of the reservation sheet for the Lorraine County Township Association Christmas banquet.
All right. That's it, Chris?
That's all I have.
All right, David?
I have nothing to bring forward at this time.
Okay, Denny?
Nothing to bring forward.
Okay. You do have in your packet, there's going to be 2 items of correspondence. The first one is from the Lorraine County Prosecutor's Office on behalf of the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners. This deals with the wind and solar facilities, or what they call farms. What the state legislature changed was previously any of these larger, above 50 megawatt wind or solar farms were all of the regulations and the approvals were set by the Ohio Power Siting Board. The law has been changed now to give that authority to the Board of Commissioners. They can set up the restrictions if anyone wants any restrictions on wind and solar, or the conditions under which those wind and solar facilities can be put in place. Right now, there are multiple counties, countywide, in the unincorporated areas that are restricting the use of wind and solar. And so our Board of County Commissioners is leaving this up to each township to give them feedback. What do they want in their township? And the expectation is then and they want it by resolution, the prosecutor's given us a template resolution here, is then the Board of Commissioners will set up for county-wide where wind and solar farms of 50 megawatts and above can be located and the conditions under which they can be located, and I expect also dismantled. And what I've got, the map that is being displayed right now, this was discussed at our zoning commission meeting because since there were people there, in addition to our zoning commission members, I wanted to hear what their opinions were on this. And during that discussion, a statement was made by someone that, well, there's not going to be any solar farms in Ohio. I let them know that's not true. And so what this is these are the solar farms that are currently in operation above 50 megawatts, or those that are under construction that were approved by the Ohio Power Siting Board prior to the change in law. And the change in law actually took effect in late 2021. So just a little, not quite, I think it might have been in October, November, so we're just coming up on 2 years. So the reality is these are the projects that were approved, under construction and process prior to the change in law. You can see the agenda is what they're showing there at the bottom, but if you go back up to the top here, Georgianne, or Morgan, I'm not sure who's operating this, the closest one to Lorain County is actually in Erie County. That's in Groton Township. I spent a lot of time in Groton Township, not too far from Norfolk Southern Railroad Yard. And theirs is actually a 135 megawatt solar farm that's under construction right now. And they've got all the approvals, hope to get this in place. It's going to be a huge solar farm when this is done. If you want to see one closer, much smaller, it's under 50 megawatts, you can go down to Grafton. The village of Grafton, they were approached. They actually owned some property that they had purchased, and the mayor at the time said they weren't sure what they were going to use it for, but it was such a deal, they had to buy the land, they'll figure it out later. Well, they were then approached by one of these energy providers to put up a solar farm, and the village agreed to it. I believe theirs is a 30-year lease of the land, and so it's much smaller at 35 megawatts, I believe is where they're at, but they're going to use the energy that's generated to help keep the electrical bills for their residents down. But if you want to drive out there, you can go take a look at one to get a feel for it. I know that of the zoning commission members, the people in attendance, it seemed like there was, if not 100%, pretty much a consensus that the wind turbine farms would, at these 50 megawatts, which are pretty large, and they were pretty much opposed to having that in our township. They didn't seem real enthused about solar farms, but if they had to pick one, they thought that would be the one that would be the least intrusive on people. Thinking that you don't have to worry about the thing coming down in the wind, which we've seen what's happened up in Sandusky several times on the blades. You don't have to worry about the flicker that goes on, which is a complaint we had from some local residents, since we do have individuals that put up turbines. And as a result of those complaints in the past, the township did have the authority for smaller operations to put in regulations. And the only regulations we put in place for smaller use, which is really going to be individual property owners' use just for their own needs, was on the wind turbines. We put no regulations in on the solar panels. For the most part, people that are putting them in the township are putting them on their rooftops. If they put it within the yard, we figure it's just like any other accessory facility. They would meet with the zoning inspector, and he would let them know what the setbacks are so that they don't interfere with the adjoining neighbors that they'd have. So with that, I'm opening this up. We don't have to have a final decision yet because this will be discussed at the January meeting of Lorraine County Township Association. At this point, I've contacted Eric Flynn, a trustee in Penfield, John Cerrone, the fiscal officer in Camden Township, about trying to have this as a county association meeting since all the townships have been asked so that we can hear what are the other townships saying. Eric, the reason I called Eric is he's involved with the Farm Bureau and we want to hear, well, what's the Farm Bureau's policy since you're usually talking large agricultural areas. And then John, since he's involved with Lorraine Medina Rural Electric Cooperative, what's the electric cooperative's position? We will be trying to get one of these organizations, if they're available, either virtually or have them actually travel into Lorraine County to also present their position. So we're hearing all sides of the situation. At least this will give all the townships a chance to hear the same thing before they make their recommendation back to the Board of Commissioners as to what they want to do. Because again, if you restrict it, you're infringing on property owners' rights that might be approached and want to put this in place. By the way, I do know a property owner in Penfield Township's been approached. So this is not something that's pie in the sky. This is real. So
Did they say how large? Over 50?
I'm not going to go into the details because those things are negotiations. They got to decide. And these organizations that want it, they know how to negotiate to get basically work one property owner against their neighbor. Because, obviously the property owner, if they want to give up their agricultural use, they're going to try and get the largest amount they can get for that lease. Well, you reach a point, when they're talking to the neighbors too, that's who your competition is. So I don't want to go into details, but there's definitely been property owners approached in Lorraine County, and you see the one right here in Erie County, David. So that answers, you were the one that said people wouldn't want to put these in Ohio. They're in Ohio.
I think that's a solar farm. I thought we were talking about wind farm.
Talking both. We've got wind farms in Ohio. Go to Seneca County. Seneca County, it was a huge uproar because they put the wind turbine farms in. And now, you had people fighting both ways. Obviously, the one having it on their property, they wanted it because that was a considerable amount of revenue they were receiving for the use of that property. The adjoining neighbors, hard to say if their upset was because they didn't like the flicker, didn't like the noise, concerned with bird migratory patterns, or were they upset because, it didn't end up on their property. I can't speak to that. All I know is it created an awful lot of disturbance in Seneca County. So wind farms exist here in Ohio also. And if you recall when we met with Duncan Estep, when we put in our regulations, he even said Northwest Ohio would be one of the best places to locate the wind turbines. So they're here. So I guess at this point, I'm just going to ask of you and Denny if you have a strong opinion one way or the other, or what do you want to do with this?
My concern is that, are we fixing something that's not broken? I don't know of anyone in the township being approached for this, or a wind turbine farm. I think that the cost of land around here would be more than in other counties. I think that if someone wanted to put on somebody who approached a landowner to put turbines on on a piece of property, that they would have to pay more than they would in other places. I think there's an economic disadvantage to that. That's my feelings. Those are my feelings on that. I look around, there's other things that can go on property too that are allowed. And it's going to have a bigger impact on a piece of property, on a surrounding property than than the windmills.
Well, I agree with you. I think the property here, because we're talking, our decision is for Amherst Township. That's our decision. We can't say what the other townships do, but we're all getting together so we can at least all make informed decisions. And I agree with you, David, the property here in Amherst Township, particularly areas that have all the utilities, is probably more valuable for other uses than for wind and solar farms. At the same time, the county commissioners, and it's rare that we've had the county commissioners ask us for input. I am not going to give them crickets. We're going to give them input because we'd like that cooperation to continue. What's the harm if you think it's not coming? The real question for you is, do you want to restrict wind and solar, or wind or solar? Or are you saying the approach is do nothing? What's your opinion? Let's say someone was going to put one of these in. How would you feel about it?
How would I feel? Where and what one of these things would entail? How many towers? Spacing, acreage involved. They go in. What's going to happen with the land underneath? Because you put a tower on doesn't mean it's dead ground. You could still farm around things.
You can farm some, but not much. You won't be farming around solar panels.
No, solar panels.
And even with if you're talking here, these have to be, cabling is going to be run to either a transmission line or a substation. I don't know how deep they put that, but I can't imagine they're going to want people going over it with heavy equipment. So it's just, again, so the probability in our township is probably low. What feedback do you want to give to the county commissioners?
I would say that I don't see a need to regulate at this time. I just don't see a need to regulate
Forget
for
this
windmills.
time. Are you saying you don't want to regulate it? You're okay if somebody...
You know, there are uses you can put on a piece of property that'll have a bigger impact on the area. I just don't see this area being a hot place for a big windmill farm. Not with the price of land, not with the use of land around here, and with the fragmentation of it. There are a few
I don't
large
disagree
pieces
with that, David, but
of
what
property, but they're not that
recommendation do you
large.
want to give to the county commissioners?
I would say let the status quo be.
So
That's
you
my
want to do
recommendation.
nothing?
That's my recommendation.
So your recommendation is do nothing, right? That's what you want to tell them, no regulation whatsoever.
We won't regulate on that.
Okay. And what are the items you're concerned with that we probably should regulate then? You just mentioned, because I'm just
Well, there
curious.
are other items. You can take 100 acres of farmland and put windmills on it, or you could put
Right.
300 homes. And those 300 homes are going to have a big, if not more, impact on the area than those windmills. That's the way I look at it. And I think a lot of these areas where they're complaining about the windmills, they're not faced with a choice between a windmill and a 300 home subdivision. They're not faced with those choices. I don't think there's a lot of 300 home subdivisions going up in Sandusky County. If people were told, okay, you can have windmills on this property, or you can have 300 homes.
Yeah, that's the property owner, that's the concern. You're giving the property owner, I mentioned, the concern of property owners' rights. If we regulate this, we restrict their rights, just like we do for housing. You know, a property owner, if we say we don't want this, and the Board of Commissioners put this in, they cannot put in wind or solar. Are you saying you want to tell property owners they can't put in housing? I think they'd go crazy.
The question was, Neil, that do you think do you want to regulate? And I said, no. I mean, there's
Okay.
other things that go on that have a bigger impact on an area
So you want...
than windmills,
Okay.
and I gave you an example. And
Okay.
now you're talking, so do you mean you regulate that? I didn't say regulate that. I gave you an example of an impact on an area.
Okay, so you want to do nothing. I know you're...
I just have a question. Are they a package deal, or can you like restrict one and not the other?
Right, you can do one or the other.
You can.
So you want both, one, of either or nothing. You know, that's what it is. And then if you want them, do you want to guide them as to, you know, how do we want this done? I can tell you, Sam, in the leasing, the property owner typically wants to have something in there to protect them in terms of decommissioning one of these when it's done. And the leases are usually 25 to 30 years. I would think we'd also want protection of the public, because that's a private deal between a private landowner and these providers. I would think you also want something that protects the community, which you probably want a bond to say, hey, if something happens, that negotiation with that private owner, that you can have this stuff dismantled and taken away. But I'd like to hear from others. Right now, the county commissioners are asking for our opinion. So I've got David's as do nothing. So I'll make, we can pass that on. And I don't know, Denny, if you feel strongly on this. I know it's just, y'all received this email from the prosecutor, and...
I haven't seen the email, but I'll vote with you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wait till we hear more. I'm essentially going to let the prosecutor know we've now scheduled the January meeting with Lorraine County Township Association, which will be I believe that's the third Thursday. It'll be in Grafton Township. And we're working to get the right people there to help inform us and educate us on this before we make a decision. I know because I called Jared Smith, the trustee in Carlisle Township, to try and get this on the agenda and explain that I'd already been in contact with some other township officials as to what they're going to do. And the initial discussion among Carlisle was they wanted neither. But they haven't made a hard decision, and so I believe they're going to hold off before they give their recommendation to the county commissioners till after this meeting. Ultimately, though, it'll be the county commissioner's decision, and they do have some requirements for public hearings before they make a decision. I know when they did some informal hearings, I spoke with one of the county commissioners, and I said that, I watched that meeting. I wasn't present, but I don't think the comments and opinions they were receiving were appropriate for the decision they need to make, because the decision is only in the unincorporated area. By far, I don't know if there was anybody there from any other area other than the city of Oakland. And they were all very strongly in support of this and wanted no regulation or restriction whatsoever, but it doesn't affect them.
I think that, my opinion is that solar would be a good use for brownfields. You get a piece of property that's basically been used and is functionally useless for this reason or that reason, and if you could find a way to put solar panels on it, at least it would do something. At least it would produce something.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're necessarily a bad idea. They may be something you want to work with and channel certain areas.
Well,
But as far as being against it, I can see positives to it.
okay. Well, that's better, David, to hear that, because, I can tell you in the discussion with other township officials, there was even the question, can you use this in areas that are flood zones, where you can use for camping, you can use for agriculture, but you can't do any construction? Well, can you put up solar farms, and as part of the deal that they improve the water quality and water volume consideration, if it doesn't interfere with the floodway, you always have to put things up anyway, you use it there so that you actually get beneficial use of those land areas. But I'm not informed enough to make a decision on this. I do know one thing, though. We've got to get back to the commission with something. They've asked for our input. I think it behooves us to give it to them. But that's a good point. So I think we're good on this. And I did have, for our area, Lyndon Morgan have put together a list of all the properties in the township that are 10 acres or more, zoned RAG, and I think is it like 1,800, it's just under 2,000 acres that's currently available. Yeah, I can't see that from this distance what the total is, but I seem to recall that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,800 acres, all the way down at the bottom. Not that far. No, it wasn't total. This has got to be the original one. But when I did total all that, it comes like 1,800. I think they're doing the math now. Well, that's okay. I'm going to move on. I think they're having trouble getting some function to work. Okay, there's additional correspondence. And this, David, I had forwarded to you. I don't know if you've seen it in your email. This was on November 10th. This is from Sean DePaula of Lorraine County Engineer's Office. And I'd indicated to Sean that you would get back to him since this is dealing with lighting. Yeah, there it is, 1,853 acres. But in any case, Lorraine County Engineer's Office plans on resurfacing Middle Ridge Road from the township western boundary with the city of Amherst up to West Ridge. Not sure if this will be 2024 or 2025, because all depends if they get the funding also. And that funding is always over a 2-year period, so this is what they're working on. And to improve their score for the funding pool that they're applying for is, it indicates if they improve the lighting, they could get an improved score. So they want to change from the current lighting to LEDs. But they found out the same thing, and if you look at the email, and you've got a copy in your packet, same thing we found out in Hampshire Farms when we were going through the lighting design. We thought, well, let's change LED because it'll lower our energy costs, lower the cost of maintenance of having to go out and change it over because they'll last longer, so we could get some saving. And working with Ohio Edison, Nick, I forget how Nick, Saros, I believe is the way his last name, but Nick has said, well, actually they're going to cost more. What? Cost more for the fixtures on an annual basis, more for the fixture put it up. So well, then why would we put in the LED? I realize from energy and reducing your climate footprint, it made sense, but we weren't going to do that if it's going to end up costing our residents more money in the way we use their tax dollars. But the reason here, the county engineer, what they're asking for, David, is they want to do it because it improves their chances of getting the funding to resurface the road. They're only talking 4 lamppost light, and so they'll just be changing the light fixtures right now. And with that change, there will be $209 itself for each fixture, right? And realize Amherst Township pays for the lighting rental. Engineer takes care of the road, but the lights is our contract. So it'd be $209 for those 4 fixtures to change them, plus another $2.70 per month per fixture in operational costs that we would pay. So it's under $120 a year in additional costs over and above what we currently pay. The county engineer says they will put the additional $209 per fixture changeover. Again, this is all so that they can improve their scoring and receive the grant funds in the road project. So So David, you need to get back with Sean. Sean did tell me there's 2 additional fixtures they want, but they don't have the details on that because it's City of Amherst power. And I think that's at Nordson Drive and Brennan Drive probably. So there'll actually be 6 fixtures, but 2 of them we don't know yet. You know, with Amherst, it may actually be a lower cost. They work with Am Power, but we won't know till he has a chance to speak with their utilities director, Ron Murphy. So with that, David, definitely get back to Sean.
Yeah, on that.
Right, so let him know what's going on. But I don't see where, I mean, I'm not going to risk the engineers not getting approved or getting their project delayed, you know, over something that's less than, for our cost, $120 a year, and yet it will be improved lighting. Okay, we'll move on to reports. Ambulance, Denny?
We have an ambulance board meeting this Thursday at 4 o'clock at Amherst City Hall, or not City Hall, at the Amherst Fire Department. And Neil will be attending. I will not. David, will you be attending?
Looking at this again, this is the,
It's 4 o'clock this Thursday at Amherst City Fire Department.
I will not be able to attend it.
Okay.
Thursday.
Neil will be attending then.
I'll be there. It's, if you have anything you want me to bring up at the board meeting, let me know, because this is going to be an important one. And Linda did put copies in your box for we only received 1 proposal for ambulance service for the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District. So this was out there. We were hoping that we would have seen several, so we'd have something to compare, but for whatever reason, we've only received 1. So I expect the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District Board will make a decision at that November 16th meeting.
Okay.
Okay? And Chris, there will be an increased cost for ambulance service. Right? And we'll probably have to agree how that's divvied up among the 3 communities also. All right, we'll move on to zoning. Sam?
Yeah, you all have the copy. Any questions on that before I get into some other things? Copy of the permit log?
Oh, thank you. I like seeing this. It makes it easy, a quick snapshot.
Okay, I've been pretty much keeping up on complaints and permits and all that. I have a couple that I just wanted to make the trustees aware of. Neil, I did send a letter to the Chris Farrow down the street on Middle Ridge, 45650 Middle Ridge. I did send him a letter,
Okay, great.
so we'll see what happens. Ask him what he's going to do, what he's thinking.
Just for the trustees aware, that's where you see the concrete piles. They're growing. So it's just, and they really shouldn't have any concrete there. So Sam's he's working on it.
That's the one. I received a complaint from Jay Barter, who has a parcel amongst right south of the pond and sandstone development. Apparently they're pushing boulders on his property, and there's silt fence that was just thrown on there. I emailed, I think I copied you all, I emailed John Evanson and Tom Oster, and I did hear back from John, and he's going to contact Jay and address it and let me know what happens. That's that one. You also had an email just recently, Chris forwarded it all to you.
Just today, I think it was.
Yeah, well, I've been dealing with this for a couple weeks now. It's 605 Bardish. The people just moved into town. They thought their contractor who put a fence up pulled a permit. Well, he didn't. Long story short, they came in yesterday and paid for the permit. The problem is their next door neighbor, which is the email we got, and she had called me several times, they put the fence backwards. They put the finished side facing themselves instead of facing them.
Yeah.
I know. So I don't, she wants someone to pay. She's going to have a handyman put slats on her side and finish her side. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I've been talking with the people, and hopefully they can work it out, but I just wanted to make you aware of it.
Yeah, if she's willing and gets a finished side on her side,
Well, she wants somebody to pay for it because she has to do that, so I
Well,
obviously...
she shouldn't pay for it. I thought you meant the neighbor would be willing to do that.
That's what she would like, well, no. The people that put the fence up haven't agreed to do anything yet. The next door neighbor is going to pay someone to finish that side, but she wants someone to pay for the material. So I don't know, I guess that's just between them.
We don't have any
We don't have
code
any
that says
regulations.
how
No.
a fence is supposed to be built, Sam.
I know,
You said it's a fence, it's a structure, it's stuck to the ground, and it's got posts and it's got sides that hook onto the posts.
I told her that,
It
so,
doesn't say which side goes
No.
which way.
no. And she said, you know, if we had a building department, well, even if we had a building department, as far as I know, there isn't even any codes for building that
No,
tells you
there
you
isn't.
have to put it one way or the other, so.
Maybe that's the design you want to use.
I think she'll just have to do it herself, but I just wanted to make you aware of it. And then I have one more, 541 Fieldstone Drive. I had complaints for cleaning up the property. I did get a hold of the owners, and it was very nice, and I gave him till December. We agreed that by December 15th, he's going to clean it up. So he's already been working on it, so
Okay, good.
if you hear that one. So that's all that's open. Everything else I think we've addressed.
Great.
That's it.
Questions for Sam?
No, I have no question.
You haven't heard anything on this potential conservation development on Oberlin Road, have you?
No.
Because otherwise, it's dead. I mean, it'd still be zone conservation development, but, you know, he needs a second access.
Yeah.
We had told him that before. The max was 50 homes, and I think he thought he was going to show the other developments in Lorraine County where they had a dead-end street, but they let him know those were under older regulations.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
Okay. I haven't either. I just thought, you know, they'll contact you first with anything. Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay. Well, I do have one other thing under zoning, David, in the packet, you know, so that we can get something going here, that when we need a architect for site plan review, we're not scrambling at the last minute, since, you know, I've discussed this with you and Denny before, if we make it an option in our zoning, because we're the only township in Lorraine County that requires this. So what you have here is a list of, with phone number, name, phone number, and address for all the architects within our area. Now, there's many more than just this if you expand it, but these are the ones that indicate they do work right here, you know, between, if you draw a circle around Amherst Township, inclusive of Lorraine County. So if, you know, if you just want to go down the list, obviously Mark Lesner's listed on there, you know, he's a no, and I think you called Mark Ruby, didn't you?
I spoke with Mark
And he's
Ruby,
a
and
no, because that's the one Mark Lesner thought would
Spoke
work.
with James.
We've had Jim Yorks here before. I don't, Star Builders indicates they have an architectural group. I don't know if it's an actual architect. And that's something we may have to look at also, if, you know, do we have some other professional than just an architect? But there's a list, a good list of 20-some architects that you can contact in the locations, okay? Fire prevention isn't here, so we'll go to roads, parks, and cemetery. Superintendent Smarsh.
I don't have much. We've been on leaves, some pothole action, and we finished up, well, we have just a little bit of crack sealing left to do. We'll have that finished up this week, and we have a couple small topsoil grass seed projects that we're going to try to get blasted down here before the weather turns bad. See if we can't get something to go.
But you're all set when the weather turns bad. You know, we had one little reminder it's coming.
Exactly.
So, and got more snow than they thought we were going to get that day.
Yes, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. And I know you didn't mention it, but just so the trustees are aware, it's, you and Russ had cleaned up the rental property also, you know, and did some paint touch-up and sanding and cleanup.
turned out they did a decent job when they left out with the cleanup as well. Just had a couple hours in there, tidying up and
Yeah,
in good shape.
good deal. All right, there any questions for Kevin?
No, I have none.
Okay, Township Administrator Linda Ashley.
For the senior services, I'll just mention again, Medicare open enrollment. I've had a couple people come in. It ends on December 7th. So if anybody needs their Medicare stuff looked at to do comparisons for either their supplemental plan and/or their prescription coverage, just give the office a call. We can schedule something. December 7th is a hard date that if you don't do it by midnight or 11:59 on the 7th, you cannot change it. So just letting people know. There's no flexibility to that. They'd have to wait till next year. Honor wreaths for the cemetery. The ceremonies will be December 9th. Middle Ridge Road is going to be at 10 a.m. and Kindig is going to be at 11:30. We have honor guards coming to do the ceremonies, and the wreaths will be placed on the 9th. We're still accepting donations, so if anybody wants to donate to the cause, all the information is on our Facebook page, and also there is a Facebook page for honor wreaths.
Had some paper copies.
I have paper copies here too.
That was on December 9th.
December 9th, 10 a.m. at Middle Ridge and 11:30 at Kindig.
What was Kindig? I'm sorry, 11?
I'm sorry?
What was the time?
11:30 for Kindig?
Thank you.
Yeah. And for our shredder event that we held with the dumpster days, since I wasn't here at the last meeting, I'll just bring that up. Lorraine County Solid Waste ended up collecting 4,000 pounds from the township. It could have been some residents from other places too, because it's open to everybody. It's open to all residents, but they were pretty pleased with the 4,000 pounds.
Tons.
Yeah, they were pleased with it. So they said they could come back again in April if we decide we want to do it again in conjunction. I think it went pretty well. We had traffic going, kind of in and around on our circle. I did have some volunteers that came up to help, and it was steady, but it wasn't overwhelming. So the gentleman, I think we were there 45 minutes, he said, just go on, we can handle it. Because they weren't sure how many cars were going to come in at once. But if we want to do it again in April, we do have time, we can discuss it. But that is an option. And then I'll need a couple more volunteers again.
Okay.
Other than that, Morgan and I will be taking, and I know you have it in the packet, the old computers and stuff over to solid waste tomorrow. I do have some paperwork that we will take over to be shredded, but some of it needs to have that R2 and R3 form filled out, so we're working on that. That'll be probably a little while before we do that, but Morgan has done a fantastic job in organizing and getting all that mess cleaned up in the back room, so.
Great. Are all the memory devices erased or destroyed?
We took them out, or I shouldn't say we, Morgan took them out, and then Kevin either beat him with a hammer or ran him over. I don't know what he did with them today.
Ashton.
Okay, great.
Other than that, that's about it.
Have any questions for Linda?
No.
All right. Now, I want to,
We have a resolution that you prepared on that.
we do, it's
Yep.
coming up, David, it's under new business. And I neglected to put on here, and Chris has it in the payments. Should have mentioned it when Kevin was giving his report on roads, is the city of Amherst, remember, we have that cooperative agreement between Amherst and the county, and they did send over the first request, and you'll be signing the check tonight for our portion. Realize it's just a portion of what we've committed to, but they're asking for another draw, and so they had sent it. The way it'll work is Amherst will pay the bill, we're writing the check amount to the city of Amherst. So it's, and I wasn't sure, Chris, if they had an electronic fund transfer or not, but I figured you'd handle that and decide what works easiest for you. Okay, it's nice the complaints are getting smaller here. I wasn't sure, Sam, we've got 340 Broadway, is that still open?
Well, we haven't been paid for it yet, but it's done.
Okay. David, the light cost estimate on Old Middle Ridge?
That and those lights that are out, 3 lights are out, still no answer back from Ohio Edison.
Okay.
And
There
I'm
was
ready to complain to them.
Okay, there was another one Chris sent out, I think, for another street light that's out.
If it's the one that you forwarded,
I sent
Linda?
you one for 6907 Hidden Valley.
6709, which is next to
6709.
6701, which is the light that was called in that we're waiting on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe send Nick some reminders on that, and you've gotten that, if you don't have his email address is in that document I gave you on the
Gotcha.
lighting there.
Gotcha.
Right, we're just holding open that one as far as the yard waste odor, which they're not sure if it's yard waste, that pond up there on Middle Ridge, because right now it's, I imagine with this time of year, it's nothing. I've been up there and I can't detect it. One time Georgianne could during the summertime, but I didn't notice anything. Oh, and it is on here, David, for that street light. I did get it on the agenda. It's 6709, and you're indicating that may be the same complaint from another neighbor.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're right next to each other. There aren't that
Okay.
many streetlights.
All right, then I've got, David, I'm going to jump right to it. You've got solid waste, but I did include in the packet the latest information on the bid packages that went out. We've now got 5 people pulled bid packages. So Kimball, Toter, Rumpke, Schaefer Plastics, and Republic. That doesn't mean they'll all submit bids, but they've actually pulled the package. On November 6th, I'm not aware of any addendums or changes. I received no notice from Megan on that. So I'm assuming everybody's okay with the way it is, but the bids are due at 3 o'clock on November 20th. So that'll be coming in soon. And then when the Waste Hauling Consortium meets, they expect the announcement to be completed on January 5th. And I know Georgianne's already aware of this. It'll probably be then the people will know ahead of time, but it'll go the first quarter newsletter. We'll talk about it, what the new pricing is. But you've got a copy there. I just want to keep tabs on that schedule and what's going on.
The only thing I would add under solid waste, Neil, was that the policy committee did meet today, and the district did get 100% of the communities
Oh,
to
good.
approve the plan update, which
Wow.
is really good. The director, David Blevins, he's excited. He said that would help when it comes to getting grants from the
Grants, yeah.
EPA, because it shows community support for the plan.
Good.
And very much pleased with that. And it will be submitted then to the Ohio EPA down in Columbus. And it'll be approximately 2 months ahead of the original schedule, so delighted about that.
You must have been chasing down some of those communities that were late, because it was 59%, I think, the last time you reported.
It was 60, it was over 60, but it wasn't 100, and he hoped that they would get 100.
Okay, good.
And they're still in the black for the year, still have a balance of 4.2 million. We still don't know what's going to happen with that, still waiting to see what the long-term finances are going to be. If there's another hit, if the district takes another hit to the finances, it could be a different story. Right now, it's just wait and see. Okay. 16,456 at the collection center year to date. So Thomas Patrick is excited about that.
Excited to take their stuff, huh?
Yeah, it's still excited to use that center.
All right, well, we'll move on. Linda mentioned about Morgan getting things organized as far as documentation that they're going to have to dispose of, but they've got some forms to fill out there. But they also asked for a resolution to dispose of unneeded, obsolete, unfit for use property. So So you do have, and David, you had appropriately mentioned, we need a resolution to get rid of this stuff. So there is a prepared resolution here. It lists the equipment that they had at the time to get rid of. So I'm going to make a motion that the Amherst Township Administrator shall be authorized to discard or salvage the office equipment listed on the attachment in accordance with the procedures outlined in Ohio Revised Code, Section 505.10. Memory devices shall be electronically erased or removed prior to disposal, and the rest is all boilerplate.
I'll second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Funny, she said they're gonna take it over to collection center, because when I read this, I thought, gee, they could take the stuff over to the collection center.
Yeah. What's the motion number on that, Chris?
11-4-23.
Okay, is there any other business?
11/4/23.
Correct. Did you want to?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Is there any other business?
I'm done.
Okay, what Chris is alluding to is we've got, in December, for our December meetings, right now we're scheduled for December 12th and December 26th. But I'd like to propose, since there was no changeover in the new trustees, by the way, congratulations, David, we can actually do our organizational meeting this year. We don't have to wait until the beginning of 2024. What I'd like to propose is that we skip the Tuesday, December 12th meeting. This won't be a problem for you, I hope, Kevin. And hold the meeting on Tuesday, December 19th at 7 o'clock. And that would be the end of year and the 2024 organizational meeting, December 19th. So we will
One meeting in December?
just one meeting that will be scheduled, and if for some reason something comes up and we have to hold a special meeting, we'll have to post it. Either a
December
special-
19th.
Yeah, so cancel mark off the December 12th and the December 26th. And we will have the motion in there so that Chris can put things together for the routine bill. So you're either going to have a special meeting call, or there'll be bills that come up and sign in December, after December 19th. But there's still going to be activity in that period of time.
As our year end, is that what you said? Regular meeting and also our,
Yeah, well, it's going to be the end of year and 2024 meeting. So yeah, so cancel December 12th and December 26th. Instead, we're going to hold it on December 19th at 7 o'clock here at the hall.
good for me.
And we'll just have to play it by ear as we've done in the past. If we need to call a special meeting, get it out and get it posted. Let me know when you're ready then, Chris.
Ready.
Okay, anything else? Go to the order. Any need for an executive session?
No.
Okay, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Abraham?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.